Behind the Veil of Stars, Episodes 10 through 18. Episode 10. This video was actually 2 sessions. One session, ending after Malara and Katarina, were both captured in the coffins, resulting in some unfortunate memes. It is never my goal to kill a character, but without the risk of death, combat has no real meaning to it. It is unfortunate that Katarina died here, cutting off all story threads she had, and her death was largely caused by her trial that reduced her hit points. This allowed an undodged large hit from a gravedigger to result in instant death. She did have her parry up, and got glanced by the first blow. She decided to perform a full dodge in the bet that the monster would miss the next attack, or get another glance. However, it hit. And the parry turning the blow into a glance was not nearly enough to stop it from hitting so hard. Worse still, she was about to finish her trial, gaining a large amount of HP and XP. In my original campaign notes, Visenya was going to kill the squires in the snows. But I had offloaded this challenge to Katarina. Thus, Katarina's death left the squires alive to play a part later in the game. Fenrir, in truth, had and has little respect for the dead. He decided to try and gather rations from Katarina's corpse. His role was a natural one, and at my statement of "the meat is far too stringy," he then pretended to not have done this. I cut this from the mainline videos, as it is, well, quite obviously pretty gross, and both kind of undercuts Katarina's death and twists Fenrir's character to be much more unlikable. Either way, the Gravediggers have some of my favorite monster designs in the setting. They have a reason to be here, but as it was never elaborated on in-game, I shall keep it hidden. But what I can say is a particular set of corpses remain unburied. The purpose of the battle is to distract from a far more insidious occurrence, the snow itself, making travel out of the city dangerous and slow. This was mostly to enable me to trap the players in-universe in the city and remove the possibility of me losing my preparation due to player whim. Bjorn and Guinevere are introduced here. Bjorn's purely an NPC, and Guinevere isn't. Both have the fatal flaw of rage, making it clear the party will revisit the Bloody Pit to fight demonic reflections. This fight was rather explosive, which made for good fun, along with a couple crazy crits. This one's from Guinevere, and was quite funny. The next one was made by Demon Bjorn, and it wasn't as funny, as it went against Elidas, and instantly killed him. However, the Bloody Pit had a special effect on it. It is a realm controlled by Lucia, and why would a mother kill her children? A bit ironic to say that about Lucia, but whatever. Elidas is saved. We get a good look into the deeper lore of the world, a small peek at the gods, which is always good fun. Episode 13. Puzzles aren't really my strong suit. I always have the conflict of how do you make them interesting and appealing, and the issue is I don't like them, and so I don't think I can actually make good ones. But the tower really needed them for thematic reasons. The rare opportunity to potentially pull out some of the player's own secrets was especially juicy. Of course, the only quality secret they got was the High Lord, and the army he had used to gain back control of his city. Though one secret given to me by the players got me to chuckle quite a bit. For his actions. Where he spent his time. and the various other aspects of the character all added up to the secret being rather absurd. Jonathan was gay. He spent all his time in brothels. No wonder he didn't want to get married. So at the top of the tower, they meet a fragment, a fingernail, of an old god. And this creature, this many-handed, many-fingered creature, shows them visions, them being Elidus and Melara, visions of the potential futures. One in which this old god is victorious, and in the other, where Eleusia, one of his opposing gods, is victorious. 14 and 15. Bring us through the Tomb of Kings. It was not my plan for this content to be done when it was, but good rolls got them into the tomb early. In 15, I skipped a handful of fights that were a bit redundant, along with several rooms, so the tomb didn't take an outrageous amount of time. I cut a scene with a shrine that Fenrir prayed at, a fight with a swarm of imps in one room, and more. Though much that was cut is in the uncut version. I also recorded events for a more cohesive and straightforward plot, getting rid of many of the times the party backtracked to ask questions they could have asked the first time through. This also brings us another 20% for 40% total the way through the game. 16. This is the first actual appearance of Valentia in the tabletop game. I will admit the idea of the upcoming dinner was stolen from The Curse of Strahd. I love the idea of having the players interact and get to know the big bads early on in the game. Though we were at the midpoint, and Fenrir's policy of be friends with everyone turned Matthias and Visenya from intended villains to benefactors. After the dinner, I also wrote a side story featuring Visenya that changed the way I played her from that point on. That is, in fact, the scene with her and Octavius. When I first wrote it, I was extremely happy with how it disturbed me and made the character more cohesive in my mind, more real, added more depth. And so I was very excited to get that scene recorded and into a video. Her character didn't change that much. She simply gained a reason for her obsession over blood magic, rather than her simply liking it for power's sake. I was a bit lazy with the assets for this episode, as there are no full splash arts. However, the backgrounds took forever, so I put a bit of extra effort in the image manipulation to keep the actionless episode more visually interesting. 17. Not mentioned here, but Valentia owns a copy of the very popular, but also very banned In the Arms of Northern Debauchery, which is a collection of brutal and steamy tales targeted strangely at noblewomen. Melara also learned about poisonous plants, but the info was completely irrelevant, and I don't remember it. 18. Hoo boy! This session was an epic mess. It was easily my favorite session at this point of the game, with an epic fight between Vardar and the Watchmen being the centerpiece. All of it backed by various character motivations and conflicts. Though, I cut a fight with Gravediggers, as it was session filler. I also cut the chat Gwyn had with Vardar, which includes her stating an interest in Elidus, and Vardar recommending Fenrir, as Elidus is a coward, and Fenrir is a bit of a Chad. he doesn't seem to think the detail that Fenrir is courting Medea remotely important. Unfortunately, Guinevere will never learn what happened to her mother, as Vardar dodged all questions about the woman, and she never mentioned her relation to Vardar in front of Damascus. Elidas had an unfortunate double one and lost his enchanted weapon. This contrasted by Gwyn's godly double natural 20, resulting in the deaths of Damascus and his squires. Episode 18 covers the 25th session of the game. There were 50 sessions of this game in total, which means we're halfway done. Unfortunately, I no longer have as much time as I did when I started. I'm not the type who ends up with less projects over time. The WIP folder is ever growing, and in a vain attempt to stifle that, I will be changing the format of these videos. They were already designed to be mostly audio experiences. I am going to shift to a splash-only style, similar to Possess Vengeance. I already won't be needing very many backgrounds from here on, but I am no longer willing to put in several weeks it took to go through the editing process for the video itself. It's always been one of my least favorite parts of making the series, but I think I will miss a bit of the end result. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content and my storytelling, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that cursed little bell.